All right, JSnip4 YouTube here from YouTube, like it's a different planet or something. And as requested, JSnip, man, when you get those silver bars of Jesus whipping the money changers out of the temple, show it, man. Show us what you got. They came in today, and I shall now hold one up for you all. If I can get the right little light on there for you to see. And the back looks like this. Silver shield. Friends, skills, wealth. 10 troy ounces. I like that. Friends, skills, and wealth. Not jabronis, zombies, and free handouts. It says friends, skills, and wealth. So, I had a little box sitting on my desk here, my computer desk. Waited a little bit, I said, I think I know what this is. Of course, my kids saw them. Daddy, can we have one? Can we have one of those? What's wrong with the little 1 ounce ones I gave you guys? Oh, but we like that one. We really like that one. Oh, okay. I teach them young. Why don't you get gold? Daddy, how come we only get silver? Because I love silver. So I want to talk about David Wilkerson's prophecy. I've done at least maybe 2 or 3 videos on this already. One not too awfully long ago. But that was before the euro started diving against the dollar and the dollar rising, vice versa, against the euro, to where all of a sudden the dollar is worth more than the euro. Are you kidding me? And I thought, ooh, bingo. What did that one prophecy thing say? Oh, yeah. This guy, David Wilkerson, alleges, he had a vision from God or whatever, what have you. And this was many, 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 many years ago, like in the 80s, I believe. Or maybe late 70s, somewhere around there. And in it, he talks about the euro going first and then it coming to America. So the euro is now below the dollar. And I think in May or so, they're going to finally issue or whatever Article 50 to get out of the EU officially. That's the United Kingdom. Italy's in big trouble. France is in big trouble. Germany, not per se, but their bank, Deutsche Bank's in big trouble. So, I mean, these aren't cracks. These are like earthquake-sized cracks forming. Clearly just a matter of time. But that's what made me really think about this. So, I'm going to read this article. It's extremely brief, if not even really an article. It's just more like a couple of charts. But it's from Zero Hedge is covering this. And this chart, let me just switch over there. This chart shows the euro against the dollar. And once again, the USD has taken out recent highs. The better than expected manufacturing data in the US has promoted further USD buying, setting the USD index above 2016 highs back to its highest since 2002. So, I mean, this is crazy what I'm seeing right here. Now, although I showed you the other day, it was like a $1.04 to the euros being $1. Is this not actually? Well, we do have a little blip down there. I don't know. Euro USD. Maybe I had that backwards, but I couldn't have, because when I read you the article, it had the little link in there that I guess had real time, or at the time of the article, which was just like yesterday, day before, whatever. And it showed, $560 for the free income to people, whatever, in Finland. And it was like $560 euros or 580 US dollars. So I was like, wait a minute, that's backwards. It's supposed to say 580 euros and then next to it, 560 US. But it was backwards. That's what prompted me to look, and then I saw that. So anyways, long story short, we got some problems. And that's it for that particular clip or whatever. So I found a couple of things about David Wilkerson's prophecy. Before I get to this one, because this is the one about the euro and all that stuff. There's another one that I found, Visions of David Wilkerson, published in 1974. This is from alamangardo.com. And there's some other stuff in here. So I wanted to start with this, and then we'll go into the one that we're familiar with, which is the euro thing. Earthquakes coming to the United States. The United States is, and by the way, I got to interject. There's a piece in here about an earthquake possibly hitting Japan as a precursor to the big one coming to America. And all I can think of, oh my God, 2011, Fukushima. Massive earthquake offshore, massive tsunami. And it hit Japan. So I was like, yeah, let me get to that in a minute. Earthquakes coming to the United States. The United States is going to experience in the future the most tragic earthquakes in its history. One day soon, this nation will be reeling under the impact of the biggest news story of modern times. It will be covered of the biggest, most disastrous earthquakes in history. It will cause widespread panic and fear, without a doubt. It will become one of the most completely reported earthquakes ever. Television networks will suspend all programming and carry all-day coverage. Another earthquake, possibly in Japan, may precede the one that I see coming here. There is not the slightest doubt in my mind about this forthcoming massive earthquake in our continent. I am not at all convinced that this earthquake will take place in California. In fact, I believe it's going to take place where it is least expected. This terrible earthquake may happen in an area that is not known as an earthquake belt. It will be so high on the Richter scale that it will trigger 2 other major earthquakes. Famine and hunger coming. Snowless winters will bring dismal crop production and famine conditions in central and western Russia, India, Pakistan, all of the Southeast Asia and Africa will especially hit hard. The 40-month drought in Africa and the prolonged dry spell in Brazil will both end temporarily. There will be some relief, but conditions will worsen. In Africa, millions will face starvation. American food reserves will dwindle, partially due to drought and floods in this country. Wheat, rice, and soybean reserves will be completely exhausted. The demand for corn, rice, and wheat will not be met. The beginning of sorrows. Floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, and hailstorms will occur more frequently. More than 1/3 of the United States will be designated a disaster area within the next few years. Now, granted, I'm realizing he's talking about the next few years. This was done in 1974. But my thing is, if anyone has a vision or psychic thing or whatever it is, most of the time they don't know the year or time. It's just a vision of the future. So maybe he thought it'd be the next few years since he got it right now. Typical response, I would say. Don't know what to make of this. I'm just going to say that. Nature will go wild. Let me ask you about this one. Has that been happening lately? Nature, cold spells, colder than normal, floods, all that stuff Webbot's been covering too? Absolutely. Nature will go wild. Floods, hurricanes, and tornadoes will destroy crops, animals, and much wildlife, driving prices even higher and causing some experts to suggest that nature is losing its balance. Oh, you mean like global warming and that stuff, whether it's man-made or not. The scientists, the warming scientists, right? Suggesting that nature is losing its balance. That's exactly what they're suggesting. Weather will become increasingly difficult to forecast. Sudden storms will appear without warning. Southernmost regions will be gripped by record cold waves, and northern areas will experience record heat waves. We've actually had both in this country in recent times. Short periods of relief. Many men will appear to be repentant during the times of violent chastisement by nature, but the short period of relief will make it appear that nature has settled down and men will be comforted by warmed sunshine and normal seasonal weather. But more violence, far worse, will soon follow. Airplane pilots will be reporting the worst flying conditions in aviation history. The most intense hurricanes are coming. Many parts of the world face the most violent winters of all times. Europe faces the worst winter lashings ever. Depletion of relief funds. Relief and disaster funds will become nearly depleted. Insurance companies will face huge losses. These last two things I just talked about, this stuff is in recent robot reports. Stuff that hasn't really been in them many years ago. That are, in recent times have been in them. Talking about the insurance companies going up because they can't afford this stuff. Like it says, they had huge losses. We can't sustain. We can't pay. Sorry. Unlimited funds are not available, and the people of each nation will soon learn there will be no one left to turn to but God. Outbreaks and epidemics. Mankind faces the threat of new epidemics. There will be a major cholera epidemic sweeping through various underdeveloped countries. India and Pakistan face threats of untold thousands dying from epidemics and starvation. Hailstorms. Large chunks of ice will fall from the sky and cause much damage. These storms will not only destroy crops and smash automobiles, but they will cause the death of many people. Watch out for reports of intense ice storms and hailstorms in the future. Also, prepare for the most severe winter of all time and record snowfalls in the United States and Canada, he says. We have had record cold when it's not even supposed to be here. And they're forecasting even worse now that we're in January and coming up into February. And then it says, there's a thing here, updated January, February, March, April 29th, 2011. David Wilkerson dies in car crash on 4/28/2011, weeks after his prophesied tsunami hit Japan. Now, in this thing, I don't see a prophecy of a tsunami hitting Japan, so I don't know if he said that. But he did say, which I think I'll be getting to next in a minute, the big one would come to Japan before it got to the United States. Is that here? Yeah. Another earthquake, possibly. Okay, never mind. It was here. So when I first started reading this, talked about this big earthquake coming to America. Another earthquake, possibly in Japan, may precede the one that I see coming here. Again, Fukushima. So, the other part, the Euro thing. This is from allnewspipeline.com. And this was, again, same guy, David Wilkerson. I'm not sure when this was done, but I believe it was in the late 70s or 80s. It's about to, and maybe it was the 90s. I personally, I don't know. It doesn't matter. It was certainly a long, time back. That's all that really matters. It's about to happen very soon. One nation, and I'm speaking prophetically. If I've ever heard anything from God in my life, I heard it. Very soon, a European or North African or Eastern nation is going to default on its international loan. And when that happens, within 2 weeks, Mexico is going to default. Mexico owes $100 billion, 80% of it to American banks. And here's what's going to happen. About 2 weeks after the first country goes bankrupt, we're going to survive that because most of that money of the first country is owed to European banks, German, Swiss, and French banks. But a second country is going to go down, probably Argentina or Brazil, and we'll kind of live that down and say, well, maybe it's not going to hurt. But 2 weeks after the first country goes down, Mexico's going to default on $100 billion. And when the banks open the next day at 9 in the morning, $15 billion per hour is going to be withdrawn from our American banks. They're going to be running our banks. I think he meant putting a run on the banks. The Arabs, all the Latin American countries, they're going to be running our banks. Again, putting a run on our banks. And before the day is over, the USA is going to have to declare a bank holiday. 6 months of horror. And we're going into 6 months of the worst hell America has ever seen. There's going to be chaos. Not even the National Guard's going to be able to quiet it down. We're going to have to call out the whole U.S. Army. Now, I've had visions recently, for I've been in New York City, and I was in Macy's in a vision, and I saw people walking around stunned because they couldn't get their money out of the bank. Now, I'm going to give you a word of advice. The first country goes bankrupt. I've documented this, and I've got it sealed in an envelope. And I'm going to call all my friends, and I'm telling you, this is the first time I've said it in a public meeting like this, but the first country that bellies up, you go get every dime you have. Church, get your money out of the bank, because there's going to be a bank holiday, and you won't be able to get a dime for 6 months. Now, of course, there's going to be restored, but the nation will never be like it is again. There's going to be fear like we've never known, judgment at the door. When I was at Macy's department store in a vision, and I watched people walking around stunned, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what was happening. Then a bunch of people walked into Macy's and suddenly went wild and began to steal, and within an hour, everybody, I saw the spirit of everybody in the store. They were robbing and stealing. They raped Macy's and destroyed 5 floors. Macy's was raped and ruined in a period of an hour or two. That's just the beginning. Folks, it's all in this book, the Bible. We've been warned and warned and warned. You can't tell me God hasn't warned us. You can't tell me God isn't saying something awesome here tonight in this church. We better get our prayer life straightened up, our lives straightened up, get rid of the idols, as Paul writes, and seeking the face of God in holiness, or you're not going to be ready for what's coming. God's warning, get ready, and you'll not fear these things that come unto you, and you'll start rejoicing. You'll not be afraid because your hands will be clean. You've been praying, and God's building a wall of fire around you to keep you. So anyways, that's like the end of it. I think, where it said, well, you don't have to fear these things, you'll start rejoicing. I'm going to start rejoicing because of these silver bars and coins. That's why I'm going to be rejoicing. Because when all this crap happens, you don't want to know what the price of silver is going to be. Or gold, for that matter. But I can't help but to see this. The euro is going down. I mean, it's not in any kind of danger level right now, but it's certainly like eyeball popping. Whoa, what is happening right now? Like pretty rapidly. And to top it off, the price of silver today was up 55 cents at one point to like, was it 1650 or so? It looks like it, actually had a high of 1657 and a low of 1577. You're talking 80-cent move. Almost $1 move. 1577 was the low, 1657 was the high. So as this stuff starts coming unglued, more problems, I'm here to tell you, and of course Webbot said so too, you're going to see larger day-to-day movements in the price of silver. And I'm going to remind you, I will remind you again, Webbot said we will see $5 moves per day in silver, to be followed by $20 moves according to the data. It was very clear in the data at the time. And I read more today about this new electrics thing that I did a video on the other day, in this thing called the sun cell. And I saw a CNN video somebody linked where they actually did a story on it. It was about a 4.5-5 minute story. And they had the guy, they were talking to him, and he mentions, well, it kind of violates the law of, I don't know what he said, thermodynamics or something, one of these physics, laws of physics. And he said, we may have to rewrite some things. That the data is not, the data doesn't lie. And they had this little contraption that's like making literally like a miniature sun type of environment inside this sphere. And there's some videos on their site. You just look it up, sun cell. And it's a New Jersey company. And I watched a few of their videos today, actually, and saw what they were talking about, like these two molten, like electrical beams inside this thing, creating, and they said, I think, more than 10 times the brightness of the sun. And yes, that was that device. I told you, uses silver. It's even on their website. It uses silver. Essentially, I believe it's molten silver. So it's got to be, and I'm not sure how the heating process goes. That how do they get it to molten level? Not sure. But the device works with this molten silver. I don't know a whole lot more about it. Again, just look up internet sun cell, one word actually, SUNCELL. So I'm fascinated by that, and I'm seeing these guys in their laboratory. They're now made some news, and I said, okay, I'm going to try something that I normally don't do, that I probably should do a lot more. And that is, let me reach out to these people and see if by chance any of them would be willing to do like a Skype interview or something. I'd like to talk to these people and upload it to my channel. And I'd like to tell them about the Webbot. You may not have ever heard this in your life, but I'd like to tell you about this thing that predicted your invention way before you guys even had an idea of that invention. I knew it was going to be some kind of new electrical device that provides power, generates power, and I knew it would be having a critical component of silver. And I'd like to explain to them how the webbot works, just in case they're fascinated by that, and then let them have the floor. Now tell me from start to finish, what even caused this? Why did you start doing this? How did you figure all this stuff out? Did you accidentally find something when working on another project? You know, why does it need silver as opposed to something else? And when I read or watched these couple of videos today, I thought to myself, man, those silver bars I got instead of Bitcoin, because if something like this really takes off, oh my gosh, we now have a very small generator of power that lasts a really, really, really long time on the fuel. We'll call that fuel partially silver. At least in some respect, it needs silver for sure, but it can generate for a really long time. So I don't know what that equates to, and like can you put it in a car, which would mean you would need a electric car. It would provide the electricity to the car. Are we talking about like months and months of driving on one little bit, like a few ounces of silver or something, or what? And I don't know, but I'd like to ask these questions to these guys. So I sent them an email. I got a YouTube channel. My subscribers would really like this, kind of stuff. I sent it earlier this morning. I have not heard anything back from them, but I sure hope I do, because I'd love to do a little interview and upload it to this channel. But I'm certainly following the sun cell, because I do believe it is the new electrics that the webbot spoke of. But I've seen a few things come out that kind of meet the criteria, but never has an attachment to silver. And then nothing ever happens with it. Like, whatever happened to that? Well, we don't know. We haven't heard back from them again. Were they faking the data? Did they find something else? Oh, yeah, we got it wrong. Who knows? But then they're here one day and they're gone the next. This company does not seem to be like that. So I'm going to be following it. I can't wait to see where this goes. Take care.